Here, you can exercise your rights to freedom every day without leaving your home. We don't just say, we do. It's the Stay in City way.
Hello and welcome to the first live episode for Real Talk with Anele for 2018. So is 2018 finally the year? Is this the year you quit the job that is making you miserable to start that business idea that you've been sitting on for years? Is this the year you convince your superiors that you are the best person for that senior management position you've been eyeing for so long? Is 2018 the year you finally reach the top of the corporate ladder that you've been climbing? This next hour of Real Talk might just have all the answers. The leading mind in business, Vusi Thembekwayo, has been busy. Him and his team have been hard at work, finding out what it takes to become the best leaders, managers, and companies in existence. And with his new book, and the title, here we go, the Magna Carta of Exponentiality. He's here to share all the best kept secrets with you. Okay, let's start with that title. Isn't it the Magna Carta? It says Magna there, and I was like, guys, I'm pretty sure Jay-Z said Magna, eh? You guys are sinking me. There's a sabotage happening, I see it. Magna Carta of Exponentiality.
The Magna Carta of Exponentiality, that's it.
Okay, I forgot to Google exponentiality. What does that mean?
So exponentiality is essentially the concept that explains the difference between singularity and exponential. So, so anything that is about singularity drives linearity in behavior. Yeah. And the exponential is the antithesis of it.
The entire thing.
Yeah, I mean, the exponential is like it starts here and it ends up there. But there's a point where it grows at a rate faster over time, whereas linear will deliver you the same results over time. It just doesn't change.
Okay, so look, I might not know the title well, but I know a lot of the things you said inside, and this is why you're here, because we're going to talk about this.
It's all good.
There's a part when you say that much of the literature that is written about business leaders who have done well can be somewhat poetic and inspirational. No one talks about the practicalities of being a leader, especially of a successful company. Unpack that for me.
Yeah, because I feel, look, as I suppose, in my journey in business, I've found that the literature in business, often when business leaders get to a point where they've done well, when they tell the story, they make it sound like they always knew. Like, oh, this thing was always going to work out. We don't. 99% of the time, it's a bit of luck, a bit of guess, and a little bit of instinct and skill. So that's the first part. The second part is we make more mistakes than we get things right. And that's what people don't realize. Business leaders make more mistakes than they get things right. Where we are lucky is the quantum of the things we get right outweighs...
So amazing.
Yeah, that it outweighs the quantum of the things we get wrong. So Michael Jordan, when he was at F&B, made a whole host of mistakes in running F&B. But he got e-bucks right, he got the tablet story right, and he got making F&B a digital bank right.
And he got the Steve campaign right.
And he got the Steve campaign
I mean,
right.
we're all talking about Steve.
Right. So when you think about those things, the wins were so much bigger than the losses. But in quantity, the number of losses far outweigh the wins. So
what I like about your book is that when we spoke about this the last time you were here, you were like, you know, the business books that are out there are they're not business books, they're motivational books. They're very, yes, you can do it, yes, yes, yes. And then at the end of it, you're like, okay, great, I've read this, I'm inspired, where do I start? And you've got a lot of starting points, and I like that. And one thing you say in your book is that you ask yourself a lot of questions. And it's like, and that's the point of being a leader, is that you stay up at night and you ask yourself a lot of questions about your business and about yourself. What is currently the most weighing question on you?
Now what?
Now what?
Yeah, I feel like, so God's been good, right? And I say this to people all the time. I'm just the vessel doing the work. But he's, at 32 years, I suppose I have amassed more wealth than most people do in 2 lifetimes. So I've done fairly okay. And I've lived a life that most people don't live in a number of lifetimes. I've traveled the world, I've met with paupers and presidents, right? And there is something about the juxtaposition of those two things that kind of brings you to a space where you go, now what? Like, okay, so where do I go now? What's next? What am I trying to leave behind? So I'm very much at the now what part of my life, which is about legacy. It's when Vusi's not in the room, what's left? Because it's not, you know, it's not the Patek Philippe watches, it's not the cars we drive, it's not the places we live in, it's not the people we holiday with, the places we holiday. It's more than that, and I'm trying to answer that question.
You actually just opened another door in my life that I never knew was there. And this is why I love it when you come here. Because you call it legacy, and for the longest time, I was calling it branding. For instance, because I struggle when people say I'm a brand, I'm a brand, I'm a brand, because I feel like when you say you're a brand, something needs to exist. When you are not standing there, I need to be able to look at it and be like, oh, there's Vusi. Much like, you know, Oprah, I can go to a school. She's not there, but the fact that the school is there makes her a brand, and her magazine and so on. So is this what you're struggling with now? What you're going to make exist when you're not there?
100%. So that your thing about brand, and I say this to my team all the time, which is, even in the construct of brands, we must always recognize that we will never be the equal of the brand. And this is what many people who build brands get wrong. So particularly people who do personal branding. So they go, well, I'm a great X, I'm a great comedian, a great singer, a great actress, a great whatever. So you become this brand thing, but you forget that a brand is something that lives in people's mind, which is to say your existence becomes a manifestation of somebody else's expectation. Now, most people are bad at the expectation part. So they think you're still in charge. You're not in charge anymore. This thing called a brand now outlives you. Like it's a bit like building a Lego set. You just build the pieces. What people will do with this Lego set is up to you. And that's kind of how I think about my life.
That is such a hard truth.
It is, right?
It is such a hard truth.
And by the way, the most powerful brands are the ones that the people who construct don't own. When you cease ownership, that's when you've built a brand.
Tasha's.
Exactly, because it means that there's somebody on the other end who's gone, this thing is so powerful, not only do I want to be a part of it, I want to help build it. That's hard. I imagine you're a lot like me. Like I'm a, what are we doing now? So,
and also you still want, because it's Anele, you still want Anele to be making the decisions, right? So, yes. So basically you are teaching us that when you know that you can comfortably start releasing the power,
let go.
That's when you know that you've been successful.
True. There is I think it was Friedrich Nietzsche that said that true power finds expression in the absence of power. Which is to say, when I can give power away and still have power, I have power. That's real power. That's like,
I know y'all want to clap. I could see them like, I have come to realize that there are no perfect decisions, but decisions that I make perfect. That is something else that I loved reading in your book. Walk me through that garden.
Again, right? So remember, you're in this journey. You're doing this thing called life. You're building this thing called a business. You're in pursuit of this end goal called profit, and somewhere in between it, the pursuit of purpose. You're trying to create a better workplace for your people, a place where they can come and belong. You want to serve communities. You want to better the lives of customers. There are 1,000 things you want to do. And so we go to business schools, and business schools, particularly the ones I went to, teach you about, they give you case studies and they go, this business leader did X and that business leader did X. And there's like this literature that says they make perfect decisions. Then when I spend time with business leaders, I realize they don't. Most of them just make a decision. And they're comfortable in the knowledge that decisions are meta by their nature, which is to say, I'm going to get on the freeway and go from one place, I'm going to another. In my head, I kind of have a path of how I'm going to get there. But if on the way there's traffic, I'm going to change the route. If I hit a pothole, I'll stop and fix.
But I'm going there.
But I'm going to get there.
So fig.
And this is the thing about the perfect decision rather than the decision made perfect. The decision made perfect builds into it the assumption and the knowledge that I'm going to get things wrong. And I'm comfortable with getting things wrong. Because it's when you think you have to make perfect decisions that you get into the most dangerous thing leaders do. Ego, bravado, knowledge, arrogance, this walk in and like, I own it. No, you don't.
So we've always done it this way.
No. Like, you're a part of a process. You're a servant. Sit down.
It's so funny. This is not a business question at all. It's more a statement. Somebody said on Twitter, oh my word, I love it when Vusi is speaking private school English and then he goes into Zulu. They're like, I just shot second. I'm like, yeah, okay. So when you said it was all big, and I'm like, oh, someone at home is going, yeah, we're all out here. So on the way, there's something I want to discuss with you besides... because there's a study you do in the book about Lexus.
Right.
We're going to talk about Lexus, and then I want to bring Apple in. And then, you know, I'm sure there's all sorts of questions that are popping into your head for Vusi, so send us your 20-second voice note on the number that you see on the screen. When we come back, Vusi says, be reliable, be tailored, and be responsive. But I have a bone to pick with him, because he says, be predictable. Find out why after the break. has earned his position as one of South Africa's authorities in business, and he didn't get to where he is by chance. The one great thing about Vusi Thembekwayo is his passion for paying it forward. He's always keen to share his knowledge, to see others improve themselves, which is why we have him back on the show today. And obviously, by popular demand, he's got a brand new book out. I've got it here. I'm so sorry, it's got doggy ears because, like, you know, you read and you're like, okay, let me make a mark, and then you make a mark. So it looks a bit abused, but it's really...
As a good book should.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
There we go. Me and the producer, this is what we look like at the moment. So in here, there's a study that you write about Lexus, right?
Right.
And I love new studies that you don't know about because we're always being told about Apple
Right.
did this, Apple did that. And
Right.
I think obviously because it's top of mind, because most of our products are Apple,
Right.
that's the one they're trying to inspire us with. Let's talk about Lexus. What for you stands out about their road to success?
Yeah, I mean, so in the Apple story, I was making a couple of points. One of them, Dr. Clayton Christensen talks about in his book called The Innovator's Dilemma, which is typically when we're in business, there are some service lines or product lines which make more margin, more profit than others. So the natural proclivity for business leaders is to focus on the service lines that make more money and kind of abandons the ones that don't. And in the US, General Motors, Daimler Chrysler, and a couple of other players who were making very big, what they call trucks in the US, these very big cars, Jeep, right? And they were making a lot of money on the big cars. And then on the small cars, they were making a little bit of money.
Yeah.
So they thought, well, you know, and then Toyota came into the US, and Toyota started selling cars in the US, and they were competing with these companies on the small cars. And all of them, General Motors, Jeep, Ford, were like, yeah, it's too little profit. So we leave it, and we let Toyota do it. It's the biggest mistake I watch entrepreneurs make, and business leaders make it too.
Sure.
It's called seeding market in areas that are non-core. And what you do is, if you seed market in areas that are non-core, you give your competitor time to breathe and room to grow. Because then what happens is Toyota now owns that area of the market without competition. Which means even if they make a tiny bit of margin, they don't have to worry about a competitive short-term dynamic. So immediately what happens is they start thinking differently. They start investing more money.
And then they build capital to take you on in another area.
And you know where they'll go? Because it's the innovator's dilemma. They don't make enough margin here. So where will they go? They go up. In other words, you left them in the small space to focus on the big space. What you didn't realize was you were giving them room to build up capital so they can fight you in the big space. So Toyota starts migrating up, right? So Toyota starts making bigger cars. They do it first with what was called a Sena. Then they made the Camry, which we know in South Africa very well. They made the Cressida, which we know in South Africa very well. And all they were doing was they were migrating up to larger cars. Now, the problem with Toyota was they were making their cars in Japan, exporting them to America. And for the American person, or the average US person, it was still a Toyota. It represented reliability and quality, but it didn't quite represent opulence and luxury. And they were making really good cars. So one day, the story is told like fable, but they're sitting in a board meeting. And one day they're having a conversation about what are we going to do with this problem? And they thought the problem was about pricing. And out of nowhere, a little voice from the back said, this is not a pricing problem, it's a brand problem. We've built a brand that represents one thing. We have a market that associates our brand with one thing. We're trying to sell them something different. So we should just, rather than change the car, just change the logo on the car.
So that even if the car is amazing and brilliant and it fights the Mercedeses and the BMs,
100%.
The fact that it's still called a Toyota,
it's a Toyota,
is what's stopping us. So let's change it.
You know how you know when you're driving the wrong cars? If I ask you what car you drive and you tell me the derivative, not the brand. So if I said, what do you drive? You drive GT, you say I drive a GD86. You don't tell me I drive a Toyota Coupe.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Because the person who drives an Aston Martin doesn't go, I drive a DB9 or a Vanquish. He asks, what do I drive? I drive an Aston Martin.
I drive a Bentley.
Do you get it? I drive a Bentley. I don't need to tell you if it's a Mulsanne or if it's Continental or it's a Bentley.
Okay, so you say a little voice in the boardroom spoke up.
So the voice says, change the logo. And they go, what do we call it? Well, and they go through this process. And the answer was, what is it? It's a luxury product. What do? We export it. And to whom? To the US. So what is this thing? It's a luxury export to the US.
Lexus.
It's a Lexus. We'll just call it a Lexus. And they created the brand Lexus. And now today, Lexus is the third largest luxury brand in the US.
Thinking simply, using what you have, and keeping your eye on the prize.
I watch entrepreneurs make this mistake all the time. They don't win market share. They think the problem is the product. Sometimes the problem is what people think the product is. You just got to change the brand of the product. The thing's fine. It works. You get an HP and an Apple do exactly the same thing, right? But you pay a 40% premium on the other because you associate something with the brand.
So HP, rename to Orange. We might just buy your stuff tomorrow. So you said be responsive.
Yes.
You said be tailored.
Yes. Be reliable.
Be reliable.
And be predictable.
Okay, so I like reliable, I like tailored, I like responsive. I have an issue with be predictable.
Why?
Are we not being told by business minds around the world that, you know, they mustn't see you coming, don't be predictable, you know, constantly change, be malleable, be water, fit into any glass. Now you're coming, and this is the thing.
Who says that?
Predictable how?
I feel like you just made that up.
No, I didn't. I didn't. That means I could make a lot of money lying to people.
I think you're underutilized here, Chief. We need to look at different diversifying.
Yeah, put me on stage somewhere. Okay, so?
So the most engaging brand experiences are the brand experiences that are predictable by nature. So whilst you don't necessarily have to be predictable in the strategy of your organization at a strategic level, at a brand delivery level, you have to be predictable. Ergo, if I switched on my Apple phone and it changed font every time.
Oh.
Exactly. So what you do when you design what we call a user interface or a user experience of a product is you make it as predictable as possible. You know, the largest fast food company in the world doesn't sell real food, it's McDonald's. You know, McDonald's burger, with the greatest of respect, is not exactly what you might call the quantum solace of quality of food. They're not making, you know, sous chef type of stuff. This is not French cuisine.
Yeah, no.
They make the kind of stuff you just eat. Why are they the largest fast food company in the world? Because
I can go to Japan, I can go to Paris, I can go to Hatfield in Pretoria, I can go to KwaMashu in KwaZulu-Natal, I can go to Camps Bay in Cape Town, and McDonald's will always taste the same.
It's predictable.
Okay.
They even have a rule at McDonald's, it's called the 846 rule. Nobody spends, anywhere globally, nobody spends any more than 8 minutes and 46 seconds on a McDonald's drive-thru. If you do, someone pulls up to the front of the drive-thru and they ask you to leave the queue, and then they'll tell you we'll bring the food later. That doesn't happen by mistake.
Yeah.
It's a cute system.
846.
846.
I'm gonna time that the next time I go get me a Big Mac. Okay, so then in that regard, I hear you. So on a higher level and in the strategy level, it's okay to be, you know, to be risky and looking at other things. But on delivering, you must be predictable.
100%.
So if I open a can of Coke, that's the delivery part of things.
Remember, customer experience is when expectation and when expectation and promise meet. So if I have an expectation of something and you and your branding, marketing, messaging have committed it's got to deliver something, if it doesn't, I feel poorly. If it exceeds it, I feel I got really good value for money. If it meets it, I'm happy. So the predictability construct is just make sure that what the customer expects and what you deliver is consistently the same every single day. The true test of building a great business is consistency. Because anybody can be great in a good month. But you've got to be consistent every day to try and deliver the best you can. That's difficult.
Okay, tone, pace, common knowledge.
Right.
Those are, that was in your leadership.
Right.
And I understood common knowledge, and I was there with pace and tone. And I love the fact that you used former President Nelson Mandela, and in his tone, that the tone he picked in his leadership was of a certain nature. It has come under crit, we understand that. And then obviously there's the tone that Thabo Mbeki had, and obviously the tone that the current President Jacob Zuma has. I want you to tell me what kind of tone you think, obviously if you're looking at what's going to happen, the next president could be Cyril Ramaphosa. What tone does he have? Because when I look at it, he kind of reminds me of you in a business sort of way. Are you going to be in his team? Are you going to be flying South Africa 1?
Yeah, look, I mean, so let me answer it this way. I'm a big supporter of any person in a position of leadership, particularly in a position of public service. Here's my view, and I think South Africans are quite bad at this. When a person runs for office, they represent a political party. When they're in office, they represent us. And country. And as South Africans, I think we all have the responsibility to partner with anyone in public service, regardless of what party they're from.
When it comes to running the country.
Exactly, because it ceases to be about them. Now it's about me and you and my children and your children.
I believe that's the tone he's going to take. Do you believe that?
I think so. But I think watching too what's just happened quite recently with the shuffling of the boards, particularly at the energy utility, I think he's going to be the guy that's all about business. He's going to be the guy that says, we need X to happen by this time, this is the person that has to do it, and here are the consequences if you don't. We get that right, I think he'll set the country on the right trajectory. Because remember, and my view is clear, and some people criticize me for it, but it's my view. We lost 10 years in this country.
We did.
It's a decade gone. We can't claim it back. And so I think a big part of his role is going to simply be making up for the opportunity cost of what we lost over the past decade.
All right, we'll leave it there. Listen, we say goodbye momentarily to Vusi Thembekwayo. He'll come back right at the end before we say goodbye. After the break, a rags to riches story that will have you rethinking how circumstances do not have to always define you. Come back. Welcome back to Real Talk's first live episode of 2018. In hindsight, you know, as a child, Max Lichaba would help his mother sell fruit and vegetables after school to make ends meet. At one point, he attended a school for kids with special needs because his family simply could not afford his school fees. So how did he work his way to becoming the CEO of Lichaba Creations, a company specializing in gold, platinum, silver, and diamonds in the jewelry trade, whose net worth is in the tens of millions? And if you've been to Lichaba in Soweto, then you have him to thank for that chill out spot. Sir, welcome to Real Talk.
Thank you very much.
So, I mean, you know, let's be fair here. Yes, times were tough, but the fact that you used to work with your mom selling as a kid, you were slowly but surely getting your fingers stuck into an entrepreneurial, you know, path.
Yes. That's actually where the entrepreneur skill came from, because you know, I remember back then, I'm from a small town in Virginia. Remember back then, my parents, we used to stay in the garage. You know, this is where you put your car.
Where you park your car, that's where you guys stayed.
Yes. Now, things was very difficult. My mother, I think, we were 5 that time, kids, and my mother and my father. So we used to stay there. Now, I remember before we, you know, wake up every time, I'll hear my mom cry, you know, what's happening? But I think it was a pain of a parent who couldn't, you see you have kids, but you can't.
You can't provide. It's almost like she's failing you.
You can't provide for them. And this is actually happens around the country. You see that happening. And for me to, as a young boy, to say, I want to take that initiative of helping my mother.
Where does the shift come in your head? Because many have been in your situation and they were like, well, I'm a poor person. This is what I was destined to be. This is where I'm going to lie forever. Or then you take the route that you took. You're like, you know what? This is not going to be me. I'm going to make my way out of here and take my family along. When does the shift happen? What was it that said, okay, today wake up and walk that way?
I think believing in myself, believing that, and I think from the young age, I went to church a lot. I grew up in church, even though I don't go as much now. But, you know, I remember even God will, you know, his word will tell you that, you know what, believe in him, you know. And I so much believe in God and myself that I can do everything, you know. And I remember trying, you know, with five kids, being me who said, you know what?
Were you the eldest?
No. I was just in the middle. I think I've got a brother and a sister than me. Yes, I think I should help my mother because I could see this burden is heavy on her.
Yeah.
Now, I took that initiative and, you know, even when I was selling fruits and vegetables there in front of those shops, it was not easy. Okay,
so you take the money from fruits and vegetables and you use it to do what? Because I want to get from the apple to the diamond.
I was actually working, I was working for my mother. Okay. So I will just make that money for us to be able to have, not to even have anything extra, but just to have food to eat at the end of the day. So, and when my mother, when I realized that, you know what, I can't, I'm not going to be able to go anywhere in life.
Yeah.
And I asked my mother I want to go to school. That time I was not close. I want to go to school. And around there, it was really far. It was, you know, those mine towns.
Yes.
Now, for you to go to location where you're not paying any school fees,
Yeah.
you had to actually take 2 taxis from there to then, you know. So it was very tough. So that's where I happened for me to go to a special school.
Yeah.
Now, on a special school, so I don't have matric, but you know, one thing I learned there, I learned a lot of handwork. You know, like you know,
because the special
woodwork,
school
yes.
are saying that
so
you don't grasp
you don't have much
academically, so
here.
let's work with you practically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, it was like that.
I'm back on.
Yes. Now, everyone who, when you finish there, you know, you either become a security guard. If you are too clever, if you're too smart, you will actually work ShopRite, Checkers, and then clean or become a teller and, you know, stuff like that. I didn't want to submit to that. I didn't, I thought, I'm bigger than that. And I remember when I went to Harmony Jewelry School to train jewelry, designing and manufacturing, people thought, why are you doing this? You know, because looking at your history, you're not going to be able to do this. You're too slow. I didn't want to let that be on my way for
People literally said to you, you're too slow.
Yes.
Wow.
I had people who said, you can't do this. And even these days, we have people there who will tell you that, you know what, you can't do this because of your background.
Yeah.
And I realized that time that no one should determine my future because of my background. You know?
Okay. Is that something you tell yourself every day?
Every day. Every day when I wake up, even after building 12 businesses now, you know, I still say, you know, I still think sky's the limit. I can do anything.
Which one is your precious one, your golden egg, your flagship one? Because I mean, when you've got 12, it's like having 12 kids.
Yeah.
And you love all equally. But there's that one that you like, when, you know, they can take the other 11. When are you going nowhere?
It's a jewelry.
Ne?
It's a jewelry because this is, I started with the jewelry. I started designing and manufacturing from a very small age because I didn't have matric, I think, at the age of what, 19, 20.
Yeah.
I was already in that school. So after 3-4 years, my first work, I started working, but I was second supervisor at that time. And, you know, looking back that you were selling fruits and vegetables, other people couldn't believe it. But yet I knew that my destiny actually doesn't lie on me becoming just a section supervisor.
Yeah.
I know it actually, I have beyond that.
Okay, so we're going to take an ad break. You were married in Italy recently. Did you make that ring yourself?
Yes, of course.
All right, I'll leave it there. I know you want to hear more about that. If you want to hear more from Max Lichaba, he'll be back a little bit later in the show. Coming up next on Real Talk, a woman who didn't let some old school boys club mentality get in the way of what she wanted. Stay with us. You're on SABC 3 where the stage is yours, and this is our first live show of 2018. Welcome to Real Talk with me, Anele Mdoda. It was James Brown who sang, "This is a man's world," but it would be nothing without women or girls in it. Asanda Maqabuka is one lady who forced her way into the male-dominated world of security sector. But once she got in there, she experienced being excluded by the men and was dealing with more challenges than most on account of being a woman. Today, she's the proud owner of a security training facility in Umtata with Blue Chip Security Services. Not only that, she's also part of the Kuku Box franchise that she's just opened in Hammanskraal. So it was an ultimatum from your parents.
My mother, yes, mom and dad.
Okay, they were just like, lady,
Yeah, they were done.
you've been to Tax, you've been to Rao, you've been to Cape Take.
Yes.
What is it that you want to do with your life?
You know what my mother actually said to me? I remember like coming back from, so I was at Rao. So after messing up a tax, go to Rao, mess up at Rao. Mom sat me down and she's like, okay, Mdala, I'm so vunas tinigeng. So it's like, look, we've got a family friend who owns a garage, a Shell garage. You can go work there in Nesis Lungusako. So I was like, you know what? And my brother actually was the one who said, go to Cape Town, try marketing. It's, you know, your personality, it's up your alley. So, but yeah, man, school was never really my thing. Like everyone at home is educated.
Yeah.
My little sister's got a master's. She wants to do a PhD. Yeah. Nah. It's not my thing.
But wait, what were you studying at Tux and then at Rao?
Okay, I studied political science.
Okay.
Right? So from politics, still, I was like, yeah, mom, you know, because I think I was in high school, I was very vocal and like fighting for our rights.
That's why you thought political science the way to go.
Yeah, because I thought this is what I've been doing all along. I mean, I've been telling these white people, this is right, this is wrong. So I thought varsity, that's exactly what I should do. I know, it's completely boring.
So then how does branded water then come into play? Because if you look at it from an entrepreneurial route, that was your first failure.
Yes,
okay?
Absolutely. So I was in Cape Town, started a company with a friend of mine. I mean, I think we were bored more than anything because I was supposed to be at school and I was not going to school. So we found a gap, you know, someone who had a spring and was bottling water. So we're like, hey, let's try this out. This looks cool. So we opened, you know, Liquid Vision. It was called Liquid Vision, water branding company, custom branded. Yeah, it didn't work at all.
What was the door that didn't open in order for that to fail?
I think it was us. We're very focused on, I want to be the MD, I want to be the CEO. You know, the title is more than the work.
So you had a business card, obviously. That's the CEO of water.
Yes, of course. Yes, we totally did. We totally did. We were so excited. When we went to go print them, we were so excited. Yes. MD, Chana, MD. You know, so yeah, we're very excited. Yeah, and I mean, water is a very volume-based business.
Yeah.
So look, it doesn't matter where you're bottling 3-4 bottles of water, the same amount of work goes into it if you're bottling 1,000 bottles. Yeah. And we just didn't have the volume.
Oh.
So yeah, it just didn't work out at all.
The security company. How does that... Well, it's not a security company. You have a security training facility.
It's a company and training facility.
Okay, so how do you go from water to security?
Look, I was tired, man. I saw a friend of mine, actually, like a guy I grew up with. He started driving these nice cars. I was like, how did he do it?
Yeah.
And I know he didn't go to school. I was like, how? You know, how did he do it? I can do this. So I investigated, did a bit of work, investigation work, found out how to do it, registered the company. So to get the company, a security company, you have to be a security guard yourself.
So you trained?
Yeah, dude. If all else fails, you know what I mean?
We're secure.
Yeah, you guys are safe.
It's secure out here.
You guys are safe. I got this, man.
You got this.
You know? So yeah, I did that. So yeah, I got the qualification, and then it's obviously a boys' club. And the biggest thing, before I am a businesswoman or whatever, I'm a Xhosa girl. So what I find there as well is that it's run by old men who instead of me being a client or me being, you know, service provider, and so you know, and meanwhile this guy is messing up. You can't really, like, you know, speak to them and be addressed as you should. My appearance is also a stumbling block. People are gonna look at me and judge me on my appearance, and once I deliver, though, it's a different case altogether. So.
Speaking of delivery, right now, Google Box in Hammanskraal, you've just opened that. Yes. Okay, so water, security, chicken. Yeah. Look, in another world, I can see it. It makes sense. Right? How do you get to that? And also, it's in Hammanskraal. Where do you stay?
I stay in Centurion right now at my aunt's.
Okay, so it's a travel for you to get to Hammanskraal.
Yes,
how did that opportunity come about? Why did you take it? And, you know, where does it stand?
Okay, well, Mom, look, my mother's a very big influence in my life.
She is.
So I did a lot of work with government with the security aspect.
Yes.
You'd wait for like 3 months and these guys are not paying you. And I moved back home to Mthatha. I mean, I never really stayed at home. Always in hostel and then varsity and so forth. So when I moved back home, Mom saw me stressed out and she didn't like it at all, you know? I think it hurt her feelings more than anything.
Also, she knows you. She knows the type of person you are. You're not here because you're lazy. You're here because of circumstance.
Circumstance, yes. And obviously wasted opportunity on my part, you know, because she gave me everything. Yeah, and then when we sat down and she was like, look, let's discuss what you want to do. How do we go about it? And we sat down, we did our research, we worked with SA Franchise Warehouse. We actually did a lot. I mean, it took us a year. It took me a year to actually get to this point of actually owning a franchise. Because I did my research, and I mean, Vusi Thembekwayo was sitting here earlier. I saw something that he mentioned that he doesn't like franchises. So I was like, hey, this guy, what is he saying? You know, so we did a lot of research.
That'll be the first question you ask him when he comes back.
Yeah, no, I'm ready for him. Very ready for him. Very. So you know, did a lot of research, and then ended up on Box. And I think that's the best decision I've ever made. The business model is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the support that they give you as well. Look, I think if I'd start a business myself and Asanda's Chicken, it will definitely fail. So going the franchise route was the best decision ever.
Why do you think Asanda's Chicken would fail?
Because, look, I mean, as you said, water, security, and then restaurant, it's a new world altogether.
So you're doing that for the protection and for the guidance?
Yes, no, 100%. And I mean, it makes money. I mean, I'm not doing it for, you know, it's a good
Do you
business
not
model.
find that, because you're not from Hammanskraal, so you're not from the community, do you not find that, you know, you're struggling to get loyalty there, or was it smooth sailing when you got there and you set up shop?
The people there are fantastic. And I think what Box really does and why we got, you know, like a very warm welcome is that we hire strictly people from Hammanskraal.
Okay.
Strictly. So
That's a lesson, hey?
Yeah, no, dude, I was ready to bring people that I trusted. I was like, I need to bring my people from back home that I trust so that I make sure if I'm not there, you know, things are running smoothly. But the people there are so warm, are so great. I mean, the biggest thing for me was the language barrier because I'm Xhosa.
Hammanskraal is suit you.
Yeah, dude. So, but it was great, man. It's South Africa at the end of the day, you know?
In South Africa at the end of the day. Listen, after the break, we have all three of our guests here. Vusi Thembekwayo, who has to answer some questions from Asanda. Lichaba is here, as well as Asanda Maqabuka on the couch. It's time for Entrepreneurship 101 on Real Talk. Come back. And welcome back. So we're getting ready to wrap up our first live show of 2018. Vusi Thembekwayo, Lichaba, and Asanda Maqabuka have been sharing their pearls of wisdom in their journeys to greater versions of themselves through entrepreneurship. They're all back to wrap up this conversation. Asanda had a bone to pick. Okay, so Vusi, she says that you are against franchises. Can you know, I know you have a great reason for it, so I want to hear it.
Yeah, so I think it's important to understand what the mechanism of franchise was invented for. The mechanism of franchise, invented first in the US around the 1960s, late 1960s toward the early 1970s, was intended to create high-growth, fast-moving good companies.
Okay.
And those companies who didn't have the balance sheet to finance the growth themselves leveraged the assets of would-be franchisees to get into their brand. So that's where it comes from. I understand the model, and I think she's using it for the right purpose, which is to build skill. The only thing I say is to people, remember, a franchise is not a business, it's a franchise. And there are a couple of ways to come about this, but to build a business, in effect, you need three things.
Okay.
You need a brand, which when you become a franchisee, you lend, you don't own.
Okay.
You need to run the finances, which when you become the franchisee, you're part of, but you don't control the process.
Okay.
And you need to do the growth and planning, which when you become the franchisee, you don't own, it gets given to you. So it teaches you business,
okay,
but it does not a business person make. And it's an important point to make because South African DFIs, these funding institutions went and funded a whole host of people to own franchisees. And they call them entrepreneurs. That's why we have a 28% unemployment rate today. It was because we didn't build new capacity. We took companies that were running and simply fueled a faster growth of those companies.
Okay, so, but, you know, a lot of tweets are coming in where people are asking, how do I start a business and how do I get into business if I don't have, you know, the education, the background, or the financing? Then obviously, then franchising is the way.
Absolutely.
It's that step in there.
It is the way in.
Okay.
But suffices to say, if we are serious about building black enterprises, if we're serious about building black Investechs, black Big Vest, black Pick and Pays, then we need to recognize the franchise model won't do that for us. Because in effect, how many black franchisors do you know?
People who start.
People
I'm
who
hoping
start a
Lichaba is going to go. Well, franchisor, as in you started it and then you are lending it out.
Lend it out.
I'm hoping you're gonna, you know, start selling it to other people. There's a question that I'd like Asanda to answer. Let's go to WhatsApp.
Hello, Anele. Hello, Vusi. Spundo here. I just want to know how safe it is going into business with friends. Like a business that you know it's going to flourish as time goes by. Just want to know that. Thank you.
Because you spoke a lot about starting, you know, the water with your friend.
Yeah, look, I don't know. Look, I think we have different experiences. I would never ever start a company with a friend ever again. I'm tired of losing mates.
Bring it in.
It's exhausting. You know, I really love my friends. really. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Max, come through.
No, don't do it.
Why? Why?
Look, for my experience is that it gets very... We start dealing with money. As much as we're friends, and then we start dealing with business is a new ball game altogether.
Yeah.
You know, where now, yes, we're friends, but if you didn't do something and I call on you, look, dude, you didn't do this, you're supposed to do this, then now it's hard to shift from friends to business partner. And that's where a lot of people struggle with that.
And then we must go for a beer afterwards.
Exactly, chilling as mates, and then now I'm looking at you funny, this idiot didn't do this. You know? It gets very frustrating, and I think I tried it, I've done it a lot. And friends, you know, mess me about, but never again. I don't think you should. People are lucky to have friends that are, you know, good people you can work with, but personally, just don't do it.
So I think, you know, the message in there is that your business partner can one day become your friend, but I wouldn't start it on a friendship, then, you know, making them business partners. Max, I'm really keen to know, are you looking at franchising?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so then what steps are you taking towards that?
Actually, if you think, especially the business that I think is good for franchising, it's Lichaba. You know, it has a very good model how we've done it. We actually, Chesa Nyama.
But do you have young black kids coming to you saying, I'd like to open it in Davidton, I'd like to open it in Springs?
Yes.
Okay.
It's just that, you know, it takes a lot. We're just trying to find a model. We've just started another one in Lesotho.
Which is yours?
Lesotho, yes.
Okay.
It's the second one. We are busy with Botswana, but we thought, Botswana, let's just try and make it different. Why? Because you can't rent a land to build a business like that. You need to own land. So you first look at the land, you buy it, then you do it according to how. I mean, if you look at Lichaba, Soweto, it's actually doing very well. For, I think, first year we've opened, we actually not even breaking even. We are far from there. And now, so I really look at the business model that we had for the Chesa Nyama, because actually the same one, the Soweto, you come in there with the structure, we've changed it. So it's not, you know, when you go to Chesa Nyama, it's all the same. You know how it is. But that one is totally different.
There's an experience.
So I will, yes, there's
a
experience.
Consistency that Vusi was talking about.
Yes, consistent that Vusi was talking about.
Okay, so Vusi, the reason, you know, obviously I said to you, as soon as your book is out, you come here so we can talk about it. And after reading it, these two people stuck out in my mind, and I was like, they're the ones who need to hear from you the most. Yeah. So we've got a starting out person here, female, who's gone into franchising. We've got a guy who wants to then start franchising his thing. To wrap it up today on Real Talk, what is their point of departure? Yeah, so to Max, I'd say, if I can, but I'd say figure out what is succeeding is succeeding. So part of the mistake we make sometimes as entrepreneurs, we become presumptuous. So we go, I'm doing this and people are buying it. They're buying it because. That because then becomes the reason we want to replicate. And if you get the because wrong, you're going to replicate the wrong thing. Right? So it's the point about McDonald's. Nobody goes to the McDonald's because the cuisine is good. You go because it's convenient. So you got to figure out why it's working, and that's what you got to focus on when you expand. And to people, it'll look funny. They'll go, but why are you expanding in these places? And why are you doing it this way? Yeah, I'm doing it this way because I know why what is triggering is triggering. And that's the thing I need to focus on. So that's what I'd say to Max. Second thing I'd say to Max is, as much as possible, always try to leverage. It's a mistake typically black entrepreneurs make, which is we make the assumption. We're apologetic. Yeah, like I've got to use my own resources. No. There's more than enough money out there for high growth businesses that display potential. All you need to be really good at is selling the story. If you put together a good pitch book, and I run a fund, if Max wants to have a conversation, I'm happy to connect him with our people. But to help him put together a solid pitch book so that he can go to funders who are willing to finance high growth businesses. 28% unemployment rate in this country. Building a business of scale and scaling it shouldn't be a problem. And then to my sister, I'd say, let's, and just this franchise. I said it detour. No, but I'd say, so be in it, learn what you need to learn. Yeah. But, so I was just saying to off air that I need to introduce you to someone, but
your energy, and I say this with the greatest of respect, but your energy is so genuine, so honest, that I think to apply it in the building of somebody else's brand is only going to take you so far. Like, I think sooner or later, and you know it probably better than I do, but I think sooner or later, you're going to come into a space where your personality and your energy is something you want to display in the fulfillment of a business and something else. It probably won't be what you're doing now, but it will be whatever you need to do to give you a greater sense of purpose.
Gotcha.
Nazo.
All right. Listen, all of these pearls of wisdoms that were dropped today, you can find, and I'm going to get it right now, it's the Magna Carta, okay? The Magna Carta of Exponentiality. Cheers, I got it right. Vusi Thembekwayo's book, I am absolutely blown away by it. And also, you know, you don't have to have a doctorate to understand it and read it, but at the same time, it will send you in the right direction. I'd like to thank my guests for today, Vusi Thembekwayo, Lichaba, as well as Asanda Maqabuka. In keeping with Real Talk, tomorrow we're discussing what is considered a taboo topic, the difficulties and regrets that come with being a parent. Melanie Bala started an important conversation on Twitter about being honest about the things we love and hate about parenthood. That conversation continues tomorrow on Real Talk on SABC 3. We'll see you then.